Welcome back, everybody, to the Seattle Sonics MyNBA franchise here on NBA 2K22. We're going to continue the offseason in today's episode, going through our very first free agency period of the series. Last episode was the NBA draft. If you missed that one, I will leave a card at the top right of your screen. But just know it was a very exciting draft. We, of course, were hit with the dilemma if we should keep the top pick or move down. We decided to keep it and select Buzz Wigginton Jr. out of Michigan, who comes in as an 80 overall, already the highest rated player on our roster, which mainly goes to show that we are not a particularly good team. We moved up from pick 30 to 23 to select Oscar Jabasilan. The point guard board really played out well for us. A lot of the really good point guards fell quite a bit, and we capitalized. And then with our second round pick, we drafted the Canadian Jim Arnold, who I think could be a solid combo guard for us. So overall, it was a really good draft for our Sonics. And again, if you would like to see the rest of the first round, how it all unfolded, again, make sure to click the card that was in the top right just a minute ago, where you'll be able to see all of that and hear me give my analysis on every first round pick and specific analysis on all of the Sonics picks and, of course, trade. But now that the draft is in the books, it's time to talk about free agency, where a lot of the big-name players are going to be on the move. Now, our Sonics probably are not the most attractive free agent destination, because quite frankly, we're just not a very good basketball team. And even with the addition of Buzz Wigginton and Oscar Jabasilan and Jim Arnold, I think it's fair to say this team is not going to be a contender next year. Hell, I don't even know if this is a legitimate playoff team next year. I still think we're a ways away from being a playoff squad, let alone a championship contender. So we're probably not going to be in play for a lot of the big guys. But we do have plenty of cap space, and we do have an ability to make this team better. And I do want to field a competitive basketball team going into next year. The only player not under contract this offseason, or at least under team control, is Bol Bol, who is a restricted free agent. I do plan on bringing him back if I can. It seems like you guys really want him to stick around. I want him to stick around, so that's going to be the plan. We're going to start with team and player options. We have 4 team options. Josh Hart has a $12 million option. We will accept that. And then Cam Reddish, RJ Hampton, and Ayo Dosunmu still have their team options for their rookie contracts, which we will also accept. A lot of big names are declining theirs. At the top, we got James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Bradley Beal all looking for big-time deals in free agency. I would expect James Harden to return to Brooklyn, but Bradley Beal might move on from Washington. And we all know Kyrie Irving is a wild card. So I think those are going to be the big players. You also have other stars like Zach LaVine, who will be in the free agency class as well. We're going to extend the qualifying offer for Bol Bol, and that brings us into stage 1 of free agency. We have $33 million, which is pretty much one max cap slot. And although there are some superstars in this free agency class, again, it's not realistic for this team to sign James Harden. So if you're expecting us to get a guy like him, I'm going to tell you right now, we're not going to do that. But there are quite a few players, specifically quite a few younger players in this free agency class who I do think can make this basketball team better. We're not going to offer Bol Bol yet, but maybe we will shortly. So the name who popped out instantly is Jaren Jackson Jr. of the Memphis Grizzlies. I've been a huge Jaren Jackson guy for a while. I think this kid is a stud when healthy. I think him and Buzz Wigginton could complement each other pretty well. They are similar type of players, but I think Jaren Jackson is the small ball 5 and Buzz Wigginton at the 4 would make a lot of sense. There isn't a ton of big-time interest in Jaren Jackson, and he can't be the only one to take out for recycling. So I don't know if he wants to stick around in Memphis. Now, he is restricted. Memphis could match any offer we give him, but we're going to offer him a max. This is the most amount of money we can give him, and I believe it is worth it for Jaren Jackson, who I think could be an all-star level player in the future. I wanted to go after some other talented role players. Lonnie Walker from the San Antonio Spurs is someone who kind of tempted me. He has improved quite a bit every year of his NBA career. Wasn't all that great this year. Pretty poor efficiency, but I think with a big role in Seattle, he could excel. We're going to give him a 3-year deal for a little bit over $10 million per season with a team option for the 3rd year. I think that's a perfectly fair deal. And I wanted to go after another young, interesting player, and Jordan Nwora of the Milwaukee Bucks stuck out. Don't mind that it says he played for Charlotte last year. Remember, there were a bunch of really bad trades, so he was on Charlotte for like 2 games, and then we moved him back to Milwaukee. We're going to offer him a similar contract to Lonnie Walker. Hopefully, he ends up accepting. So we're going to simulate through the first stage, and all 3 players, Jaren Jackson, Lonnie Walker, and Jordan Nwora, have accepted. So we cannot bring everybody in, and they're making us renounce Bol Bol's rights, which is not ideal, but I do want to clear up some cap space because I want to make sure we still have Bol Bol's rights and that we can bring all 3 of those guys in. Now, keep in mind, they are all restricted, so even if we do clear up cap space, they could all be matched. So we're going to trade Cameron Payne to the Memphis Grizzlies for a future first-round pick in the 2024 draft. Cam Payne was fine last year, but with the selection of Oscar J. Basilin and with the addition of Jim Arnold, plus already having good combo guards like RJ Hampton and Jordan Poole, I don't really think we need Cameron Payne, quite frankly, so to add multiple draft picks in exchange is very nice. The first-round pick comes from Atlanta, the second-rounder comes from Toronto. I have another trade which doesn't really clear up much money, but it is an interesting one. The Xavier Tillman experiment, in my opinion, hasn't really worked out. I just don't know what his long-term fit on this team is because I don't think he has the size to be our long-term starting center. And I also don't think he has the athleticism and the lateral quickness long-term to play the 4. I think offensively, he has a lot of room to improve. And although he is only 23, I think moving on from him might not be a bad idea. Plus, he kind of wants out too, so a mutual split might be best for both parties. The Minnesota Timberwolves need all the help they can get. They are really trying to win games this season and convince Cat to stick around. I've actually been trying to make this trade for quite some time. Back during the draft, I was trying to get a similar deal done. Minnesota was being a little bit stingy, so I decided to kind of bite the bullet, add a little bit more to the trade. And I think this is a fair deal. Xavier Tillman will likely play the 4 for Minnesota. I think his defense will complement Karl-Anthony Towns' offense well in the front court. And for us, we're adding a first-round pick in next year's draft most likely. And remember, with the one-and-done rule being abolished, all of the elite prospects from the high school class of 2022 and 2023 are going to be in the same draft class. So those first-round picks are even more valuable. I do anticipate Minnesota is at least a play-in team next year, and even if everything does flop, it is top 3 protected, but I still believe that is a good deal for us. So we still cannot accept everybody's deal, so for now we will not accept Jordan Nwora's contract, but we can still offer him if one of these 2 offer sheets is matched. Hopefully they aren't. But now the moment of truth. Will we get Jaren Jackson and Lonnie Walker? Well, we won't get Jaren. The Grizzlies have matched the offer sheet. We offered him a max, so we couldn't have really done anything more. We do get Lonnie Walker, though, which is really good. And now we're going to offer Jordan Nwora the same contract that we originally offered him. But now that we don't have Jaren, we can splurge some money elsewhere. And I still wanted to add some size. I thought about DeAndre Ayton. But I wanted to go over to Marvin Bagley, who's a really interesting player. He was part of the trade to send Kristaps Porzingis to Sacramento earlier in the season. He was okay in Dallas this year. However, I'm not so sure they want to re-sign him. And I think for a 1-year max prove-it deal, this could make sense for us. And he could be our small ball starting center along with Buzz at the 4. I don't really think Dallas would match that. So I think if he accepts, we could bring him in. DeAndre Ayton at center is interesting. He's not really getting any crazy good offers, and I kind of came up with a master plan. If both Ayton and Bagley accept, we will accept to have DeAndre Ayton on the team. Assuming Phoenix matches it, we will figure out if Dallas wants to match Marvin Bagley or not. If they don't match Bagley, that means that we will be able to offer him the same contract, and then Dallas won't match it. So pretty much, we can get DeAndre Ayton, and if the Suns match it, Marvin Bagley is like our backup plan, essentially. And if we get DeAndre Ayton, great, but that's not going to happen. The Suns matched it as expected, but the Mavericks did not match Marvin Bagley. So that means if we offer him the same deal, we'll be able to get him. He is getting a big 4-year, $103 million deal from Dallas, but he can make more per year on this 1-year deal. We're going to add a player option for the 2nd year just to ensure that he wants to come. And we are in first place. He would accept our offer. And sure enough, the Mavericks did not match it. So the master plan worked out. Although we didn't get one of our top options, Marvin Bagley is a great consolation prize. Don't worry about those G League free agents, by the way. I'll make sure they're not on NBA rosters at the beginning of the season. That's just a glitch. But yeah, we've made two pretty big moves with adding Marvin Bagley and Lonnie Walker, and I still want to bring in Jordan Nwora, who's now an unrestricted free agent. And we do, I believe, have the money for it, so I figured why not? Actually, we were $10K off from giving him what he wanted. This is a little bit smaller than the original contract for him, but it still pretty much fits his asking price. He took a few days to accept it, but eventually he would. So Jordan Nwora is now a Seattle Sonic, a signing I'm pretty excited about. He's got some work to do, but he can shoot the ball defensively. He's not terrible. And I think he can get quality minutes off the bench as a backup 3 and 4. He does have size, so I think he would primarily be used as our backup power forward going forward, assuming he does well in Summer League if he plays there in training camp and whatnot. Bol apparently is an unrestricted free agent, and we lost our bird rights on him, so that's not ideal. We also have $0 in cap space, so I don't believe we'll be able to get Bol back right now. But he doesn't really have a lot of interest from other teams, so I'm not really worried about it, and I think we will probably be able to bring him back before this season, but I guess we won't be able to now, which is unfortunate, but I'll make sure we're able to get him back, and if not, I'm probably going to cry. Let's take a look at some of the signings around the league. The Nets were able to cough up max contracts for both James Harden and Kyrie Irving. I don't know how they have enough money to do that, but they do. So James Harden and Kyrie Irving are both sticking around. Bradley Beal signs a 5-year supermax with the Washington Wizards, but that doesn't mean he is staying in Washington. This is a sign and trade. Bradley Beal wanted to make sure he was able to get the 5-year maximum contract, but he is headed off to Dallas. The Mavericks have decided to add another superstar for Luka Doncic, and a backcourt of him and Bradley Beal is going to be a lot of fun. Beal now gets a legitimate opportunity to win and a legitimate opportunity to play with a superstar-level player. In the sign and trade, the Wizards will receive Moses Brown, Darius Winston, a futures Kings pick, Dante DiVincenzo, and George Hill. I know that doesn't look like adequate value for Bradley Beal, and you're right, but it's a sign and trade. The Wizards can only get so much for him because they hold no leverage here, so they'll take what they can get for him. The other part of this deal is Tim Hardaway Jr. to Milwaukee for Dante DiVincenzo. Hardaway's a better player right now than DiVincenzo. However, I think Washington, who's going to want to rebuild, would prefer a younger player like DiVincenzo, and a contending team like Milwaukee would prefer the veteran who's better. Bradley Beal, for whatever reason, waived his no-trade clause, so I decided to take that off of his contract. I know you can say that's cheating, but why would Bradley Beal sign a no-trade clause to stay in Washington? That doesn't make sense. Most of the restricted guys ended up signing with their previous teams. TJ Warren finds a new home. He is now a Houston Rocket. Traded to the Suns midseason for Cam Johnson. I guess that trade ended up working out quite well for the Indiana Pacers. Colin Sexton returns to Philadelphia. Zach LaVine signs a big deal to stay in Chicago. Wendell Carter signs with the Spurs. Oladipo to the Grizzlies. Kyle Anderson to Dallas. Obviously, we got Marvin Bagley. Miles Bridges to the Thunder. I believe Jalen Brunson went to Indiana. So quite a few interesting moves. Outside of Bradley Beal, no real superstar movement this offseason, but there are still a couple more trades I want to look at around the league, specifically with the Indiana Pacers, who I do believe are still really going into full rebuild mode. They drafted Apollo Steele in the last episode to be their franchise player. So I have a couple deals for them. Karis LeVert to the Chicago Bulls for Talen Horton-Tucker. I think this is a win-win for both sides. The Bulls could use a glue guy scorer off their bench as the sixth man, and I think Karis LeVert instantly is probably the favorite for sixth man of the year. Talen Horton-Tucker, meanwhile, at just 21 years old, gives Indiana another really talented young piece to build around. And then Malcolm Brogdon is now headed to the Detroit Pistons. Again, don't mind that it said he played for the Clippers. That was 2K being stupid. But this trade is for Saben Lee and Will Barton. Lee is a 78 overall, one of the more underrated young point guards in the game. So Indiana gets younger. They add their long-term point guard in Saben Lee. And the Pistons now the backcourt of Malcolm Brogdon and Cade Cunningham with Killian Hayes off the bench. That's a fun little trio of guards they got. This Indiana Pacers team looks a lot different, and Miles Turner might be on the move as well fairly soon. So we'll have to keep monitoring them. So now that brings us to player progression. Considering we're a young team, we shouldn't really expect many players to get worse, and for the most part, that was the case. Marvin Bagley, Jordan Poole, and Cam Reddish all go up. Poole went up 2, which is pretty nice, and then we had a few other young guys down the board. RJ Hampton went up quite a bit. Good to see him progressing from year 1 to year 2. Nwora is now a 75. Springer goes up 2. Ayo goes up 2. Boston goes up 2. So that's going to conclude today's episode. Normally when I do free agency, I go up until the start of the season. But I figured I'd ask you guys, do you want to see Summer League get its own episode, or should we just go right to the regular season? Make sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel. Peace out.